Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome to the East West Show. Jack Chow on the East West Show with GNE TV. Once again, we're talking about local election. Once again, we're talking about we want to be responsible for ourselves because it is us who, by using our right of democracy to choose the one to represent us, if we happen to choose a wrong one, who to blame? You yourself, me, you, me, him, her, whoever. So we're the one to be held responsible for. Please, number one, walk out, exercise your right of democracy. Number two, make sure when you do, once you do, oh my God, that's once in a blue moon chance, use it properly, use it on the right person. With me, speaking of the right person, is a right person, Mr. Bruce Whitaker, councilman, mayor of city of Fullerton, candidate for California Senate 29th District. Sir, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jack. Great to be
By
with
the way,
you.
you look like senator already.
Well, you have to look the part, and if the voters are wise enough to send me to be their representative, Sacramento, I'm ready.
Before that, we have to see the inside of you, though, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yes.
very good. Speaking of the inside of him, I would say I'm convinced head to toe. Because I respect the mindset. I love the courage, the guts that he has. In most of the cases when you talk about politics are not those stars in the skies we cannot handle. Politics are the takes that we take towards certain issues, right? Those are called the politics. As a matter of fact, they are not politics. They are you and me and everything about ourselves. So, for California 29th District, Senate District, though, the incumbent, Mr. Josh Newman, is being recalled. The recall collection of signature has qualified, right? Has already satisfied it, right?
Oh, yes. Sometime back, signature collection completed, and that's what set this up for the ballot, for the voters to decide yes or no on recall.
So, in other words, if I want to deliver my a message to my audience, though, we would want our audience to vote yes on the recall. Yes means sometimes it's confusing, right?
Right.
Confusing, right? But yes here means say yes, this guy needs to be recalled.
Right. The question will say, shall this officer be recalled from office? And so yes is the right answer. We very much encourage a yes vote. And then provisionally, if the officer is recalled from office, there's a second side to the same 29th district, which there are 6 of us candidates running as replacements. And Bruce Whitaker, I very much am ready for this job. I solicit your vote. I'd like your support to go and be your representative in Sacramento.
Of course, my audience will choose you. And because we have demonstrated the inside world of Mr. Whitaker, and I believe my friends all know you thoroughly, right? Okay. Now, let's still focus on the recall for Josh Newman. And the notorious gas tax was his masterpiece, right? For which he was first criticized. Second, he was recalled, right? And he serves himself right. Okay, now think, what if he is not recalled?
It will be unfortunate if he's not recalled. He will continue in office. He will continue this 4-year term, and he would be up for re-election in 2020. And to me, that would send a very bad message. It would be that what he's done has been okay, that we give permission for that. And we didn't. We never gave permission for the kinds of tax and fee increases that he's supported.
No, I don't recall I did.
Right.
I don't recall I did.
It's very important that elections are won or lost by who turns out for the elections and who places those votes. And we need to turn out en masse with the same anger that we felt back almost a year ago, really a little over a year ago. This has been a long process where we said, no, you are our new employee. You work for us in Sacramento, and you're headed the wrong direction. You're doing this and taking money out of the pockets of hardworking families and young couples who are trying to get a start in life, and you're making it harder and harder to be able to get ahead. And that's not what we want. That's not what we elect people from this district to do.
Okay. And of course, recall him from the Senate is one thing. They are overturning the tax laws.
Right. A separate petition has qualified.
Yes, yes.
And it'll be on future election for us to have a vote yes or no to repeal the SB1 taxes. So when we say the gas tax, it's really, it represents a number of taxes. It was tax on gasoline, a tax on diesel fuel. It was an increase in car registration fees. And and it also dedicates a lot of that revenue away from transportation. They said it was about fixing up the roads, the streets and highways and bridges, but so much of the value goes elsewhere that it was fraudulent as well.
Well, the tax bill overturn is another witness, another evidence for his failure at the job, because not only the person is a person that the voters didn't like, but whatever he has produced so far is so harmful to every single family.
Right.
And people say, oh, well, enough is enough. Okay, now, please, there's a door, please go, like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, make an example of him, but also the rest of the legislature that passed these taxes, to pull that back away from them, to claw back that money into our own pockets. That's what this other initiative will do if we elect to repeal. But it'll also do another couple things that'll make it harder in the future for them to pass something, even with a supermajority, without voter approval. So this petition is something to look forward to, but it'll be on a future election. It's not going to be June 5th.
Yeah, let's take care of our problems step by step, right? So, in other words, my dear friend, my dear lovely fellow Californians, the first step for us is to make sure this person who is recalled is actually recalled.
Yes on recall.
Yes on recall.
Absolutely.
Yes on recall. So when you see this sign, you know where to vote. And when you see the recall, you know now yes to recall, right? Okay, very good. My dear friends, with my friend Bruce Whitaker, I would also like to touch base with some other issues. And there are also water tax, right? Gasoline tax is the one that's going to be appealed, or going to be overturned, and also pension tax, pension whatever, cut, so on and so forth. Yeah. What will happen if he stays?
Well, if Newman stays, we are going to continue to receive wave after wave of tax and fee increases, really hurting individuals, hurting small businesses, taking money out of our pockets and food out of our mouths. He's already
what has Californians done wrong to him? Make him this hateful to Californians?
Well, he brings a philosophy which is, he believes apparently that we don't pay enough in taxes, even though Californians are taxed so much higher than most other states in the United States. And we have a huge burden here to meet just to be able to keep the doors open for small businesses. Newman apparently he has no concern about that. He's serving his special interest masters in Sacramento. And they have an appetite for taxes and fees, and they're going to keep doing it even as it chases people out of this state. So I think that's a given. He's shown already that he has no resistance to that whatsoever.
It sounds to me he has a hate to Californians. Otherwise, he wouldn't have created such crazy things.
Well, they have a mentality that they know how to do better with your money than you do. And so that's, I have a very different philosophy. There's a wise saying out there that says, govern a great nation, in this case, a great state like California, the way that you would cook a small fish. Don't overdo it, which means have a light hand. Government should actually utilize a light hand. And with Newman and his allies in control right now, they're exercising a very heavy fist. And that fist is pounding on all of us Californians.
So that's why he gets recalled.
He needs to be recalled. We need to send the message to all the others in Sacramento that those days are over, and you need to start serving us and not those special interests that they're taking really good care of.
All right. So the conclusion is so clear, my dear friends. Vote yes on the recall. vote yes on recall. I believe that when you come across that, should this officer be recalled out of the office? Said vote yes. With me is my good friend, Mr. Bruce Whitaker, councilman, mayor for City of Fullerton, and a fighter for justice in my eye. I would say that if we're lucky, we get him there, California, at least the 29th district would turn a new look. I believe we will, right? So stay with us.
Thank you.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome back to the talk about California. We all care about California. California, in recent years, has been going south, going down south in a very fast way, like a bird, like a bird dropping, right? Yes. Okay. Anyway, why we're facing what we're facing, because we have corrupt officials. We have officials, elected officials, who are working for the interest group, for their own interests. Right? So the constituents, our benefit is not in the list of their consideration. So that's why we're paying 63 cents more per gallon of gasoline, and we're paying $175 per registration, which I just paid for my 3 cars. That's devastating. That's a lot of money. All right, and for a family with just a couple income, and they're barely making ends even, we are already taxed to the bone. Anything would kill us. Right, anything will kill us. Now, when we are talking about to boil a frog with a warm water, though, now the water is almost boiling. So this is the point. Okay, with me today is my good friend Bruce Whitaker of Fullerton, and he's running for Senate seat for 29th district. He is one of the most, not one of. He is the most hopeful to get to the office. So once you get to the office, I believe that you are very well prepared. Right? It's time to check about your bucket list about what you want to do, because you're facing a very strong district.
Yes, I agree, Jack, and I have many years of experience battling these issues at the city, at the state, at the county level. I've been involved in statewide measures and initiatives, countywide as well. And through my actions of getting like-minded people together and building coalitions that can win, we've prevailed many times against these sorts of threats. And I believe that's what needs to happen now. We need to get adults in charge back in Sacramento. We have children up there making decisions that make no economic sense at all. And it's slowly digging a grave for California in the future. We need to get California back to being that leader, to being that very successful, that example that other states want to emulate. And the way to do that is to get better leadership. We need to start upgrading the leadership. We have people in charge right now that clearly are showing that they don't have what's required for the job.
The other day we were at dinner talking about our legislators. You know what they say? A bunch of kids.
Yeah.
They say a bunch of kids, right? A bunch of kids who know nothing. They thought they know everything.
And they're partying on our dime. You know, they keep passing the check to us, and that's we're seeing a lot of it come out. You see a lot of mud being slung during these elections, and at times like that, that's when the insiders start throwing their darts at each other, and all that dirty laundry is getting aired right now. Well, we're just a few days from the election, and if the voters have the wisdom that I believe they do, we're going to start turning this and changing and send some people who are serious and adult and who know how to take policy seriously and how to take their lead from the voters, from the electorate. And if we're able to do that, it'll be a slow process, but we'll start turning the tide. And I look forward to that. I look forward to that opportunity.
Of course, of course. Like I say all the time, what is election? Elections is your show. It's your rock and roll time, because you the one decide who be in the office, right? Other than that, well, I would say the rest of it, this elected official will take care. But right now you have to make sure he's elected, to function that way. Though, now you're talking about, if I may, I would think about a ship going on a wrong course, right? So you have to bring it back. So what do you want to do first? How do you want to prioritize all those issues to make sure we go the right cause?
Well, fundamentally, you want to ensure that the voters are back in charge in this state, and that state government is going to understand there are limits, that they just kind of can't ignore the gravity of economics and a financial reality. We have a pension liability in the state that is pushing collectively now on a market basis $1 trillion. That's for every individual in the state of California, $78,000 of pension debt that we've all inherited just by being here. And it's getting worse. With CalPERS terrible investment strategies, they're underperforming, and then we have to make up the difference, taxpayers do. So again, they just keep forwarding this mess to us. They're making a bigger and bigger mess. So you're right, it'll be a slow set of changes that'll do that, but the very first, the most important, is to get across that there are limits. It's like in this year now with these tax increases, record revenues are going to Sacramento, huge amounts of new revenues, and it was looking like there was going to be a surplus, but in the governor's budget that he's forwarded, it's actually a deficit. It's more than $2 billion spending more than we're bringing in.
Okay.
So again, they know no limits. And now Governor Brown is on his way out. It's going to be someone else's problem. But most of the choices that it looks like are likely for governor, it's going to be very important to establish and make sure whoever the new governor is, there are limits. You can't just keep going to the well the way that you've been doing.
I know that you are not that much strong of a partisan kind of person, right? But right now we're talking about a next governor, the incoming governor, be him, be her, be whoever, Democratic, be him, the Republicans. How much each will affect you?
Well, it tends to work best in most governments at every level when you have a chief executive who is of the other party than the legislature, because then you have a certain amount of tension. And that's necessary. That's about the only time that they listen to voters, to residents, is when you have a relative balance. Part of why I'm running for Senate is to help create more balance, because the majority party is very much in control. And I agree with you about the partisanship. You can't avoid that. But these policies, really good policy, has no partisanship. It serves the people.
I agree.
And I would be in favor of that. I want solutions that work, and not those that just enrich or empower one side of the equation or the other. We really want to serve the people that we're sworn to serve. But yes, I don't know who the next governor will be, but they can't print money the way that the federal government can. So there's financial reality, and it's going to force legislature and the executive branch to get real and to try to figure out where we're going from here. How do we keep California competitive so that it can generate the kind of riches that we've been privileged to have here in this state? The state is immensely wealthy, and it takes really severe dysfunction in government to ruin that, and they've been able to do that. They're actually ruining
And
that.
there's also, sir, another thing that I noticed voting. I'm looking at the voting guide for the prepositions from 69 to 72. How come the language is so confusing, the language?
Well,
Sometimes yes means a no,
Right.
no means a yes.
Right.
I have a feeling something wrong with the culture. Conceptually, they are trying to trap you. Am I right?
They do try to confuse voters, and there's so much spin that goes on. And the Secretary of State has a lot to do with this. They come up with summary and title. The Attorney General does with as well. And they play games often to make something almost appear to be the opposite of what it is. We should insist as voters, we should put our foot down. There is genius in simplification. And we have people in our own government that want to overly complicate things. And as you look at our ballot right now, our ballot is overwhelming. There are 27 candidates for governor. For Senate in my district, there are 17 candidates for the House of Representatives for Congress. It makes my race with only 6 of us look small in comparison, but even that's more than usually voters have to go through and evaluate candidates. So you're right. I think there needs to be streamlining, simplification. Again, if you have people who are trying to do the job the right way and not gaming it for advantage, and that's, I do have favorite choices for some of those seats, and I hope that they get elected.
All right, good. And I understand as a basic of those people who wrote those bills, those propositions, they are educated higher than high schooler, I believe, right? Okay. Right. Now, when they say your yes means no, they do not need a majority vote to da 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 da. Your no means no, they do need a majority vote. Which is yes, what is no?
Right.
Right?
They try to spin everything around.
It looks like denial after of a denial, like negative plus negative, or that thing, and it is very confusing. The other day I was with a friend of mine, and we lost ourselves halfway. I said, well, where was I? I said like that.
It's why for the longest time with people, especially people who are getting up in years as well, they get confused with all this. And I say, your default should be a no. You should automatically say, unless I'm sold by whatever this proposal is, my default vote is no. And a proposition has to earn your support. And that makes it incumbent upon those pushing that proposition to sell it to people. So this is, again, as consumers, we as voters, we're consumers of the political product, and it's incumbent on people to simplify, get it out in plain language, and then we reward that with support. Otherwise, just walk away.
But we're supporting by being cheated.
Right.
Not a matter of fact, we end up voting against ourselves.
Right.
We thought we were doing ourselves a favor, yet we're being hurt, right? And we hurt ourselves. That is the problem.
And so the truth is, unfortunately, there's no easy way around it. We do have to do the work.
That's why, once again, I double check with you. Voting a yes on recall means to get Josh Newman out.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good, very good.
Send him packing.
I know, but I'm kind of like, I have some problem here already because I'm confused. So I want to double check and double check and double check that yes, voting yes on recall means to get Josh Newman out of the office. Am I right? Okay. Now, dear friends, let's take a short moment. We will come back right away. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the East West Show. Jack Chow with the East West with the GND TV. We pay lots of attention to this election, all elections. This election, for example, we selectively choose to support 3. Number 1, from bottom up, we have Bob Lindsay for county sheriff. And number 2, we have, number 3, we have Commander Joe Shamas for Congress. And number 2, which is in the middle, for California Senate, my dear friend, my dear brother, Bruce Whitaker. Bruce Whitaker, I came to know him the year of 2012, when there was a big incident in the city of Fullerton. And I was so convinced for his guts, for his courage to fight for what he believed right. And yet it is proven a fact that he was right. and he got support from his citizens even more, and he won his re-election. And I believe this is a time now he's going on forward to get a better position to utilize his guts at a higher level. So welcome back, sir, to the discussion. And we talk about trying to slowly move the big whistle back to the right cause, though. And there are lots of issues combined. So have you lined up yours?
Well, again, the priority is going to be to avert bankruptcy in this state. It's going to happen at the city level soon and other counties where the pension liabilities are becoming large. We need to also be prepared for that recession. There's going to be an inevitable correction, a recession. We've gone for a very long extended period of economic growth. That won't be forever. People understand that. But if we continue to overspend budgets and add on where we can't do that, we need to understand that belt tightening is necessary in government just as it is in the private sector. The other thing we need to do is start changing minds and hearts and minds of the electorate to say we need to upgrade our average elected officials who keep recreating this mess. That means paying attention. That means each election cycle trying to turn it a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's a slow, painful process. But what it means also is to back away from some of the destructive policies that we've been seeing. You mentioned earlier the water tax. This is going to be a hideous thing because we're already getting hammered with natural increases in water. We've had multi-years of drought.
Yes.
This year is going to be a record, at least locally. We're looking at about 5 inches, where normally we get 14 inches of rain locally. So that's going to be a crisis on its own, but the crisis is being exacerbated by government. By now coming up with the first time in U.S. history, a water tax to tax drinking water and to tax water for all other purposes, commercial and residential, and to get a foot in the door on that and be able to start increasing the rates. And then also a connection charge depending on the size of connection. And so we need to say, what is this with Sacramento, all these destructive policies that are coming out and preventing us from being able to improve our lives, which is what we all need to do.
Okay, water tax is one thing. The infrastructure is the other, right? We have the issue of the infrastructure forever and forever. It looks forever. It looks like we will go on forever, right? Okay, now, how big is the problem? How big is the shortage? How big is the money already collected? And then one of the propositions, I don't recall which one exactly, how to use the money. So do they not need a majority vote to allocate the money? Something like that. So how about those?
Well, there have been very many efforts by voters to force the hand of legislatures in the past, and it's very difficult to do that. Legislatures have ways of locating loopholes and creating ways around things. So in the end, I'm afraid the only real defense we have is to get the right kind of legislators in place and or the right chief executive.
You're right.
Because if you have a governor who's an adult, who's in charge, who understands limits, they can veto, they can stop, they can block legislative action. They can, and you know, our Supreme Court in California, unfortunately, that we're a long way from being able to get much help there. So legislators who can be leaders, who can actually inject some sanity into what's going on, and a governor who might be inclined to listen to the people and veto, but it's pressure from the people. That there's that old saying is elected officials don't see the light until they feel the heat. And so that's where we've been a little bit remiss. Voters need to apply pressure.
Yeah, apply pressure, push up the heat.
Constant,
right?
yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because they'll misbehave otherwise. We keep
and
saying
also there's another big area, whole area what I'm talking about. Lots of people are criticizing California for being left, right? And political right has been almost a slogan, strong than ever, right? So when you talk about the whistle going tilted, right, you can't avoid talking about California going left too much. right? I'm just tired of it. I see enough. I want to call enough enough. Is that on your agenda, please?
Well, my agenda is more a pro-freedom agenda, which the left-right sometimes is used as a wedge against both sides. I guess the right in that definition is more free enterprise, more freedom, and more control over your own money and your life decisions. The other side, progressive is the term even that they like to use nowadays, means giving all of that to government to say government knows how to run your life better. So you give government more money, you entrust those people to make decisions on your behalf. And that means less respect for private property, for even your own earnings. And that means more and more that government looks at your earnings as being something, a piggy bank that they can actually go and take what they need at any time. The other side, the more pro-freedom side, is saying this is mine. You can talk me into investing, or you can provide something that's in my best interest and I'll invest, but I choose. So it's having the right to make those economic decisions versus in a highly progressive situation, it's really more a government-driven, a top-down system. And so I very much favor the pro-freedom, the idea of you should be able to enjoy the fruits of your own labor. And if people are highly successful, if they're able to be successful, they should be able to largely benefit from that, and their families should benefit from that. And that example should be set for other people to do likewise, so that we are all able to elevate our existence. The other one, sometimes to me, when you put it all in the hands of government, is not spreading the wealth, but it's sharing the misery, pretty much. Yeah. And in a competitive world market, we need to stay with those free market approaches which give us vigor, which give us a leg up.
Okay. I really adore your concept, and I believe I'm in support, right? And California is being too much on the left, and also we're kind of too optimistic about the economy, especially we got to learn a lesson that we carry this much of a big burden for the pension plan, pension liability thing, just exactly because we made it during the golden years. Right. And now it looks like, oh, it's time again, let's do it again. We're almost putting another burden over us, over taxpayers, right? Now, after all, that whole thing said though, you're elected. I have no doubt that you will win. My question is only win big time or small time, right? So once you win, though, you're only one of the 40s, right? So how hard is a sell would be for you to promote with this concept?
Well, you're not going to change the minds of most of the people who are dug in on the other side in the legislature. So your audience is always the state. It's the voters in the state, the voters in your own district. The adjacent districts that you can have more leverage on, but then you use communication, both written and television and in print as much as possible. Get out among the public, speak to them, have town hall meetings, and try to convince people of what's going to be the most beneficial direction for us to go in. So unfortunately, legislators doing the job properly are almost always sales representatives for ideas. But that means that you're also listening, you're talking to the public, you're calibrating what they need and what they want, you're listening to how you can best serve them. And so there's that process that you do. It's really a lot of work. It's a lot like campaigning, and have been campaigning for quite a while now. But the idea of listening to that side of the equation rather than those who are figuring out how to spend all that money, to spend this huge amount of revenue that's coming in, the special interests that keep perpetuating the problem, need to listen to the other side of the equation, which is where you came from, the grassroots, the people who send you up to Sacramento. And that's my goal, would be to maintain and extend and have a better relationship with everybody in my district. That would be first and foremost. And then understanding where they're coming from, to to try to pound that into policies which will not only benefit the 29th district, but generally would benefit California economically. But not just economically, we're talking about crime issues, we're talking about decisions, legal decisions that impact everybody. You mentioned Kelly Thomas earlier.
Yeah.
Those, homelessness is exploding right now, and that doesn't need to be the case. We need to put a foot down and say, no, this isn't what we want. We need to start doing things that bring about what we want, not just dealing with problems that are coming at us from every direction. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of saying we can control this, we can solve this, we can conquer this. So that idea of we can, rather than no, we're going to have to accept less, we're going to have a more criminal, urbanized, homeless environment and everything. No, we don't have to have that. We can make changes.
All right, very good. Very good. Sounds like quite a tactic. Sounds like quite a right way to do. After all, all we need is the captain to ride the ship, right? And the ship is so big that we have to make sure when we tilt slowly, otherwise we'll capsize it, right? So now, my dear friends, today once again touching base with the election. By the way, speaking of the election, the day is only we're less than a week.
Yes.
6 days left.
Yep.
Right. So you want to make sure that you, number one, walk out to exercise your right to vote, actually vote. Number two, for state senate on the 29th district, make sure you cast your vote to Mr. Bruce Whitaker. And not only he's a friend, I support him for the fact he is a fighter for justice. We all mentioned about Kelly Thomas. Kelly Thomas was a homeless guy beaten by the police department of Fullerton, 6 officers, armed head to toe, right? The guy was beaten to death, right? At that very moment, there is an effort to hide the public record, which is radio camera recording, all right? And there is lots of calls for justice, right? And Mr. Bruce Whitaker was the only one of the 5 council members. He insisted we must publish let go public of the camera record,
Yes.
right? And for that, lots of people ask him that, you're facing, in no time, you're facing your re-election. Are you afraid of losing your re-election? He says, if I have to lose my re-election to get justice back, I will be happy to lose it. So that kind of a guts is exactly the courage we need for him to walk into the Senate House of beautiful California. My dear friend, let's take a short moment out. When we come back, we'll continue finding from the other. Oh, you have lots to do. All right. All right. So we'll be right back. Hello, dear friends, my loved audiences. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow with my big friend Bruce Whitaker, candidate for California Senate seat 29. We're having a good time. As a matter of fact, when somebody opens your mind, though, okay, human minds, there is a proverb that I learned that functions all my life. Human minds are like a parachute. It functions only when open. Right, I have my friend Bruce Whitaker opened his mind about how he wants to handle his new job, being senator of California, and he has his prioritization all the way down, and of course, some major issues will call for one thing, one direction: money. Right, we have limited money, and we have a lot to do. And then you need a smart mind to tell people what to do first, what to do second. After all, regardless of first, second, our infrastructure is a thing at hand. What's your take, sir?
Well, it's been neglected for too long, and I'd like to see more of our tax dollars go for tangible things, something that benefits all of us. In this state, we're the most populous state. We have a huge burgeoning economy in the state, And we are all subject to the same infrastructure issues. If they're neglected, we have potholes in streets and freeways, we have dilapidated bridges, we have areas where they're subject to earthquake damage, that need to be upgraded as well. There's been some progress over the last few years on this with hospitals, with a program to update hospitals and to look at the bridge problem. But we have many decades of the legislature and the administration underinvesting or actually borrowing money that was dedicated for infrastructure and not returning it. In fact, with this SB1 tax increase, part of that money is going to repay debt that they had borrowed without voter approval back when from infrastructure. So we do have to make up some of those, to create gains in those areas, and that's really one of the most important roles of any government, is to take care of the infrastructure, because no one else is going to do that. When you have excellent infrastructure, and those who travel, they know, they go to some countries where the infrastructure is really state of the art. That's the way we should be in California. We're a major tourism state, huge economy, huge population. We must focus on infrastructure so that we get all the benefits. And it will pay over many, many years benefits for transportation, to help improve our economy in so many ways. And I mean everything but the, I'm not a fan of the high-speed rail. The governor is pumping so much value and money
the
into
bullet
that.
train thing. Yes.
That's actually going to prevent us being able to do things that are of good use, of good utility.
Just to say it is good,
Right.
right? It's good only for the future.
Right,
But right now we're in an emergency.
right.
We're in the emergency. We need the emergency, take some emergency care, right?
Yeah, a tourniquet on some of this as opposed
Yeah.
to having this, want to do things.
Yeah, our bridges, our roads, our bumpy conditions everywhere we go,
Right.
and even potholes.
Right.
If you can't do the whole thing, how about fixing some potholes?
Right.
Those are the things at hand right away.
Right, an idea of what quality is and what it looks like, and saying we're entitled to high quality in these areas. So that's just more or less a state of mind that leadership needs to have, to say, we want this and nothing less than that will do. We actually want to bring this about, and it'll be for the benefit of everybody. So it's easy to approve expenditures for infrastructure that are going to be generally valuable to everybody.
The problem is that we have collected the money for infrastructure, not once, not twice. Where did the money go?
It does wind up being fungible. It winds up being a way that people can have their other pet projects, and the money can get drained away for it. I mean, California now, even with the economic expansion that we've had for many years, is the top state for welfare right now. In terms of 40% of the country's welfare expenditures are here in California, even though California is only about 1/8 of the country population-wise. So, so we're losing a lot of value because we're not taking care of business in other areas. As social costs start to mount and multiply, whether it's underemployed workforce, whether it's again, homelessness or other issues that are draining money off for non-tangible things, that becomes a barrier to us dealing with infrastructure.
But lots of people, lots of voters question that for monies that we can trace, right? We're losing our right for as voters to supervise that, right? Okay, now, so once you're in office, you will emphasize on this one too, please, about the money, make it traceable.
And transparent.
Transparent,
And have regular reports. My friend, Senator John Morlock, is a CPA. And I worked at the County of Orange when he was there as well. And so he's supportive of me in this race. Should I be elected to the Senate, he and I will combine as much as possible to produce reports to the public that we serve, but generally available statewide, and to identify areas where audits need to be done, and true arm's length audits where we can get valuable information and start managing. Legislators need to look at the job as what it is, which is managing the affairs of all, the many, many billions of dollars that flow through the state coffers, and making sure that we're doing good investments on behalf of all the people. And that's primarily a fiduciary thing. but then it also is a management thing to stand back and say which priority should hold sway over another priority. We have many priorities. The money is only going to go so far. So we need to start making better choices.
Another thing, how do you want to prevent prevent it from happening of people being over optimistic, taking extra burdens?
Well, I think financially, again, just like you do with your home finances and everything, there's nobody who's going to ride in and bail you out normally for the average person out there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so you have to judge conservatively in terms of being able to make your mortgage payment, being able to make your insurance, whatever, property taxes. So you can't say, gee, I'm going to go out and just spend all this today and it'll be a brighter day tomorrow. No, that's how people wind up becoming homeless for the most part. So our state government can't be a spendthrift that way either. There's always this attitude, though, with the current gang in Sacramento, that they can squeeze the taxpayers more and get more and more money out of them. But we're seeing many people now in this state who are giving up on California. They're moving away. They're moving to Texas, to Nevada, to Utah, to other parts where they feel less oppressed by that. We have state government now that is looking at us like so many dairy cows to be milked for whatever revenue is necessary. That's really bad management.
But it looks to me that when voting, of course, I'm pretty sure you will vote the way you want to vote, right? But the thing is that when the majority of the legislators themselves, right, to go that way, go the majority way, though. You as a minority, how do you want to sell the concept?
Well, then you do have to go at loggerheads even with the other legislators and point out you can have a minority report which lays out clear communications to people why the decision that's being made is wrong and why a better public policy solution might be something else. It's in this war, this battle of ideas. And you have to be forceful with those ideas. So just like, as you mentioned with Kelly Thomas or whatever, I had 4 council members and other people who were saying no and trying to, but no, there was the other side of the equation that needed airing. And so that's constantly what you're doing. That's why when people say, elect me, I'll fight for you, there really is a lot of fighting and infighting over these issues. Now it should be statesmanlike, it should be civil, and it should be serious because these are really serious issues. And in that process, hopefully we get to a better public policy. And people over time, when they're choosing the wrong way, they should get embarrassed by the results. The results either are positive or they take us further in the wrong direction. And when we're going in the wrong direction, voters in the state need to put their foot down collectively and say, no, you people work for us. You need to start steering this.
Yeah, that's the right way. That's the right way, right?
And even to the extreme of recalling someone. If you have to discharge one of those employees by firing them because you don't like their job performance, that's what initiative, referendum, and recall are all there for voters to be able to pull rank on their elected officials.
And of course, I believe that my audience will cast their vote on you, Bruce Whitaker. And of course, you can win that by take it not take it for granted, right? We got to work as hard as you can, like that kind. But once you were elected, it sounds to me that you still time again need support from your voters
Always
to push you forward, right? So how do you plan your counter reaction, or call it intercommunication?
Yes.
Right. So with the constituents.
Well, often, and I've done it before, I've testified at the legislature before. I've worked with former Senator Tom McClintock up in, especially on property rights and against eminent domain, things like that, where senators and or representatives have to, assembly members, have to call on constituents and experts to come and testify to certain issues and hearings and subcommittees. And it's important to have a network of people who are good, who understand their topics, and who you can pull from. They are the muscle. They're the muscle behind every representative up there. And no one person can get it done by themselves. So I view it as a rich treasure trove that I have of relationships and of people who I've come to know over the years with what we worked on, to be able to pull from that and be able to help make the case more compellingly in Sacramento. So it's never just one person, it's really the entire backing. So those people who would put me in office, I will turn to those people and say, I need your help on an ongoing basis. Right.
Talking to my friend Bob Lindsay for county sheriff, and I learned something that he is preparing to restore the advisory group. Public Safety Advisory Group. To think of the same concept though. So you probably want to put up an advisory group for the about to put ideas and whatever concept even before birth. Okay, my point is that when a bill becomes a bill, it's already late.
It is too late.
Already too late, right? So before the bill was given birth, to let the advisory or the advisory board kick in, to let the legislators or the writers, the authors rethink. Do you think that will be a work? I mean,
well, I know as legislator, I would want a kitchen cabinet of people, of experts on so many different, on education, on healthcare, on public safety, on infrastructure, on transportation, on commerce generally, on foreign trade. There are just so many topics. Every topic is part of what you do as a legislature up there. And so it takes dozens of people, of confidants, people who you trust, people who are experts in their field, to be able to give of themselves voluntarily sometimes and say, look, I understand you're the point of the spear for us in Sacramento. I want to make sure that we help direct you the right way and we provide the force necessary to get the job done.
In other words, with or without the board, you still want to do it.
Oh, you need to. And that's, politics is all about people, and it takes many thousands of people.
Very good. Now that we look down the calendar, we have only 6 days left. So let's make a 30-second statement to the audiences to wrap it up, please.
Well, my statement would be that my history over 25 years, a lot of people out there haven't followed that, but it's out there. It's on the internet, so much of what I've done and accomplished over time. And I just know that even as a voter in the 29th District, I don't think I could place a better vote than on Bruce Whitaker in terms of me being the most, I don't like to talk in third person, me being the most reliable choice in the event of the recall of Josh Newman, to put me in that seat, and you're going to see performance that you're going to nod your head at, you're going to be very pleased, and we're going to start turning that ship of state, the state of California. Look forward to better times. All
right. Thank you very much. My dear audiences, thank you for watching. Together, let's wish him good luck. We are selfish. We're doing this for ourselves. Unless you want to mess around with yourself. If you do not, well, please pay attention to who you select. All right. Mr. Bruce Whitaker, be the senator for 29th District of California. Good luck to him.